When German heavy armor began to dominate Europe's battlefields, the Allies faced a sobering truth. Sheer courage and numbers could not overcome the precision and engineering of the German panzer divisions. The Wehrmacht's armored spearheads, led by Tigers and Panthers, were cutting through Europe with mechanical certainty. Their 88mm guns tore through Allied tanks long before the Americans could even fire back. But the United States Army, unlike its European counterparts, chose not to imitate German doctrine. Rather than matching steel with steel, the Americans reimagined the very concept of tank warfare. They called it the tank destroyer doctrine, a new, flexible approach designed to ambush, strike, and vanish before the enemy could respond. Instead of building giant armored beasts to meet the Tiger head-on, America built hunters. Fast, thinly armored machines that relied on speed, surprise, and superior coordination. Their role wasn't to slug it out in open duels, but to stalk and destroy from a distance. From the M3 gun motor carriage to the M10 Wolverine and the agile M18 Hellcat, this new generation of tank destroyers evolved quickly. Yet by late 1943, the battlefield was changing faster than design bureaus could adapt. The 3-inch guns that once pierced German armor now bounced harmlessly off the frontal plates of Panthers and Tigers. The United States needed something far stronger and fast. By the end of 1942, American units in Tunisia and Italy had seen what the Germans could do. The famous 88mm flak guns, now mounted on tanks, shredded Allied armor at ranges previously thought impossible. The U.S. Ordnance Department recognized the crisis early. The M10, armed with the 3-inch M7 gun, simply could not defeat the new German heavyweights. So they set out to design a new weapon, not just a new tank, but a solution. The answer lay in adapting an existing anti-aircraft gun, the 90mm M1, into a ground-based tank destroyer weapon. Through several refinements, the M2 and finally the M3 variant, America produced a dual-purpose cannon with power and precision that rivaled even Germany's feared 88mm. Mounted on a new open-topped turret, the 90mm M3 would give American gunners the reach and punch to meet German armor on equal terms. But there was more to come. The ordnance engineers worked fast. Rather than starting from scratch, they reused the M10A1 chassis, itself derived from the Sherman's proven hull. The body would remain, sloped, sturdy, and already in mass production. The focus shifted to the turret. It would need to be larger, rounder, and tougher, with enough room for the long 90mm gun and its heavy recoil system. By early 1944, the new machine, then called the T-71 gun motor carriage, had passed trials. It was officially standardized as the 90mm gun motor carriage M36, soon to earn its unofficial nickname, Jackson. The M36 wasn't a brute force design. It was a machine born of urgency and industrial ingenuity, a balance between existing production lines and the desperate need for superior firepower. With its 90mm gun, it could finally punch through the armor of a Tiger I. But its real innovation lay hidden behind the metal, inside the turret itself. Most would assume the Jackson's strength came from its gun. But the secret that changed everything wasn't the cannon. It was the way it turned. Before the M36 Jackson appeared, American tank destroyers had always been limited by one mechanical flaw. Their turrets were slow. The M10, for example, was entirely hand-cranked. Under fire, turning its gun meant brute force and precious seconds lost. In the time it took to swing its heavy turret, a German tank could already fire twice. By contrast, German engineers had pioneered something remarkable years earlier: hydraulic power traverse systems. In the Panther, Tiger I, and later the Tiger II, the turret was driven by high-pressure oil pumped directly from the engine. When the tank roared at full throttle, this system was frighteningly smooth, capable of a full 360-degree rotation in roughly 15 to 20 seconds. On paper, it was an engineering triumph. But in battle, it revealed a critical flaw. The system's speed lived and died with the engine's RPM. When a German crew throttled down or stopped, hydraulic pressure collapsed. At idle, the same turret that could once spin in 20 seconds might now take nearly a minute. In ambushes or defensive positions, that delay was deadly. A Tiger waiting in silence could barely turn its gun without revving its engine, and the moment it did, the high-pitched hydraulic whine betrayed its position to Allied ears. American designers studied this carefully. They realized that true superiority didn't come from maximum speed on paper, but from instant reaction, no matter the circumstances. So they did something radical. They cut the hydraulic link entirely. The M36's turret was powered by a 24-volt electric motor, fed directly from the vehicle's electrical system. It no longer cared whether the engine was roaring or resting. The moment the gunner touched the control handle, the turret moved. Smooth, steady, and immediate. At full rotation, the electric system matched German performance at around 15 seconds per revolution. But where it truly excelled was in response time. The M36 didn't need to build up oil pressure or wait for RPM. The motor delivered torque instantly. A twist of the gunner's wrist and the turret snapped to life, turning toward a new threat in a fraction of the time the Panther's hydraulics needed to spool up. In real engagements, that difference was measured not in seconds, but in heartbeats. A Panther's turret, running below full throttle, might take 10 to 15 seconds to swing across its arc. The M36 could do it in less than half that and begin moving the moment the command was given. From the instant a German tank broke cover to the moment the Jackson fired, barely 3 seconds could pass. To its crew, it felt reflexive. Point, lock, fire. To the enemy, it felt impossible. That subtle advantage changed the rhythm of combat. In the hedgerows of France or the tight streets of the Ardennes, the Jackson's crew could pivot their gun towards sudden movement almost instinctively. German tankers, trained to exploit slower Allied turrets, found themselves caught off guard, outmaneuvered not by armor or firepower, but by reaction speed. The M36's electric traverse wasn't just quicker, it was simpler. No hydraulic lines to rupture, no pressurized fluids to leak, no dependence on engine revs. It could be serviced in the field with basic tools, ran quietly under cover, and gave American gunners precise control even in darkness or freezing weather. It was innovation born not from luxury, but from logic, a small mechanical change that transformed how a tank destroyer fought. While German engineers built masterpieces that demanded constant tuning, American engineers built machines that simply worked, everywhere, every time. In that quiet electric hum, the US had found its hidden advantage. A Panther might roar. The Jackson whispered and struck first. To the Germans, it was mystifying. They never knew that beneath the M36's open turret, a simple electric motor had rewritten the rules of armored warfare. The first M36 Jacksons arrived in France in September 1944. They immediately became the most heavily armed American vehicles on the Western Front. Armed with the 90mm M3 gun, the Jackson could finally go toe-to-toe with Germany's strongest tanks. Against the Tiger I's German 88mm gun, the M3 offered comparable muzzle velocity and even greater accuracy with high-velocity ammunition. With HVAP rounds, rare and expensive, it could even pierce the sloped front armor of a Panther at typical combat ranges. American crews quickly learned how to use this new advantage. The Jackson's open-top turret exposed them to shrapnel and snipers, but it also gave them unmatched visibility. Combined with its electric turret drive, the commander and gunner could track multiple targets smoothly, shifting aim without ever losing awareness. When the Battle of the Bulge erupted in December 1944, the Jackson proved its worth. Tank destroyer battalions armed with M36 Jacksons hunted German armor across the Ardennes, ambushing from forest ridges and narrow town corners. In one battle, a Jackson from the 702 Tank Destroyer Battalion destroyed a King Tiger with a side shot to the turret from 1,000 yards away, an almost impossible feat for earlier vehicles. Crews often spoke of how quickly the turret could swing from one flank to another. In those moments, the electric system wasn't just a convenience, it was survival. German gunners, once used to exploiting the lag of Allied turrets, suddenly found their advantage reversed. A Tiger's commander might spot movement and begin to turn, only to see the Jackson's gun already locked and firing. The Americans were now reacting faster, a complete reversal of roles. Although the M36 kept the familiar M10 hull, 38 millimeters thick at the front, sloped for deflection. Its internal systems marked a new era of design. Germany pursued mechanical perfection at the cost of complexity. The United States chose functional excellence through simplicity and standardization. The M36's electric turret was not a luxury, it was a practical upgrade that any field crew could maintain. Even the German hydraulic systems, for all their precision, could not match that reliability. A single hit or a leaking hose could stop a German turret completely. The Jackson's electric motor, by contrast, would keep turning as long as its battery was alive. By January 1945, 6 American tank destroyer battalions had received M36 Jacksons. They were few in number, but their impact was enormous. Where the M10 had struggled, the Jackson excelled. And though large tank battles were rare by then, every time a Jackson rolled into position, it carried a quiet confidence, the belief that at last the Americans could shoot first. When the war ended, the M36 had done more than fill a tactical gap. It symbolized a shift in American military engineering, from raw production to intelligent design. Its 90mm gun gave it the muscle, but its electric turret gave it the reflexes. Together, they created a weapon system that embodied a new kind of warfare, one where speed of reaction mattered as much as armor or firepower. Even as the M26 Pershing entered service in 1945, carrying the same 90mm cannon in a heavier frame, the Jackson remained a favorite among its crews for its agility. Its open turret, once a liability, was now seen as an advantage in visibility and reaction time. The electric swing of the M36 became a kind of legend among those who fought in it. After the war, as tank destroyers were phased out, the M36 found a second life abroad. Through the U.S. military assistance program, hundreds were supplied to allies, from France and Belgium to Turkey, Iran, and South Korea. In some nations, they were upgraded with new engines or enclosed turrets and remained in active use into the 1980s. Astonishingly, during the wars in Yugoslavia in the early 1990s, M36 Jacksons, nearly 50 years old, still fought in battle. Their electric traverse systems were working as reliably as ever. That endurance says everything about the philosophy behind the design. The M36 was not designed to impress engineers. It was built to win wars. It was built to be repaired easily and used by ordinary soldiers in extraordinary situations. Looking back, what made the M36 truly remarkable was not its gun, not its armor, not even its victories. It was its thinking. It marked the moment when American armor stopped chasing German perfection and started building its own kind of genius. Practical, fast, adaptable. To this day, the M36 Jackson remains a symbol of an idea that defined modern warfare. That innovation isn't always about building something bigger, sometimes it's about building something smarter. When the first Jacksons entered combat, German tankers faced a weapon they didn't understand. They assumed the Americans had simply improved their gun. But what they didn't know, what they never knew, was that inside that rounded turret, a small electric motor was quietly rewriting the rules of tank combat. A silent hum, a flick of a switch, and in seconds the gun had already found them. In those split seconds, the M36 Jackson earned its place in history. Not just as America's most powerful tank destroyer, but as one of its most ingenious,